The secret tunnel out of a British prison. The escape that shocked the UK. In 1995, the British public woke up to the impossible. 3 inmates had vanished from one of the country's most secure prisons. No alarms, no witnesses, just an open patch of dirt and a tunnel that shouldn't have existed. What followed was a nationwide manhunt, an investigation that exposed corruption, and a discovery that went deeper than anyone imagined, literally. This is the story of the secret tunnel out of a British prison, and the shocking truth about who helped dig it. It started in a place where escape was supposed to be impossible, HMP Blackridge, a gray fortress built in the 1960s, surrounded by double fencing, motion sensors, and armed patrols. But deep inside the E-wing, known to guards as a pit, 3 inmates were working night after night, with spoons, metal scraps, and a dream of breathing free air again. Their plan wasn't madness. It was genius. And it went unnoticed for nearly a year. Every prison escape tells 2 stories, one about the men who ran, and another about the system that let them. HMP Blackridge wasn't just any prison. It housed armed robbers, killers, and one man whose name the tabloids couldn't get enough of, Marcus the Mole Hensley, a former miner-turned-convict. Hensley was serving 20 years for armed robbery. He knew soil, pressure, and structure better than most engineers. But what no one knew was that his skills were about to rewrite prison history. Tonight, we dig into the truth, the escape, the capture, and the secrets buried beneath British justice. When the tunnel was discovered, the public saw a daring escape, but investigators saw something far darker, evidence that maybe someone on the inside wanted them to get out. Because this wasn't just a story of men escaping a prison. It was about a prison escaping its own secrets. The man they called the Mole, Marcus Hensley, had worked 20 years underground before he ever wore a prison jumpsuit. He knew how to dig, how to listen for hollow ground, how to brace a tunnel with wood that wouldn't collapse. When he landed in HMP Blackridge, he was already a legend, but he wasn't alone. His cellmates, Darren Locke and Tariq Shah, were both serving life for violent crimes. One was a gang enforcer from Manchester, the other a quiet mechanic from Birmingham. Together, they formed a crew that shouldn't have existed: brains, muscle, and silence. They started their plan with a mop handle and a piece of metal stripped from a heater vent. The digging began under the bunk. Every night, they chipped at concrete, concealed it with dirt under the cell floor, and flushed handfuls of dust down the toilet. Guards thought Hensley's constant coughing was from the cold, but in truth, he was swallowing dust, the price of freedom. After 3 months, the hole was big enough for a man to fit through. After 6, the tunnel stretched beneath the outer corridor. After 9, it reached the drainage pipe near the perimeter fence. But there was a 4th man, a name no one expected. A guard. The inside man. Every great escape has one thing in common: help from the inside. For Hensley and his crew, that help came in the form of Officer Neil Carter. Carter had worked at HMP Blackridge for nearly a decade. On paper, he was disciplined, respected, and loyal. But off the record, he was drowning in debt. A messy divorce, a gambling habit, and payday loans that never stopped calling. All made him the perfect target. Hensley noticed. He watched the guards' habits. How Carter lingered outside E-wing longer than others. How he avoided eye contact when searching cells. The two struck up conversations about football, cigarettes, and life outside. Then one night, Hensley slipped him a note wrapped in a tea bag. "You look like a man who needs a way out." The note read, it wasn't about freedom. Not yet. It was about money. And soon, Carter was smuggling in batteries, wire, even a small hand drill. In exchange, Hensley's contacts on the outside paid him in cash, slipped through the fence during late-night garbage runs. A guard silence had a price, and in HMP Blackridge, the price was £400 a week. The tunnel grew. The deeper it went, the more dangerous it became. Underground, they could hear the vibration of trucks on the road above, the hum of engines that reminded them freedom was just meters away. Carter's role expanded. He brought blueprints of the old prison foundation, copied from a maintenance office. He rerouted nightly patrols, ensuring no one passed near cell E14 between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. The system was blind, and it stayed that way for 10 months. But Carter wasn't just helping them. He was playing his own game. The double cross. Carter had decided he wanted more than his 400 pounds a week. He wanted the escape itself. He'd been suspended once before for misconduct. He knew his career was done. If he got caught smuggling, he'd be locked up anyway. So, in his mind, why not run too? He began making demands, a cut of the outside money, a promise of a seat in the getaway car. But Hensley didn't trust him. Not anymore. To the crew, Carter was a tool. But to Carter, they were leverage. The guards secretly started recording conversations. Small talk about fresh air and dirt under the bed. He thought he could blackmail them if things went south. But what he didn't know was that the tunnel had a second exit. Hensley and his men had started digging another route, deeper and narrower, one that bypassed the drainage pipe Carter knew about. It was insurance, in case their inside man turned into their executioner. By March 1995, they were ready. The tunnel stretched 25 meters, propped up with broom handles with scraps and stolen cafeteria trays. The plan was simple: escape at 3 a.m. when the fog was thickest and the guard tower facing the opposite direction. But one of them made a mistake that nearly doomed everything. The night of the escape. It was raining, heavy and relentless. The kind of weather that drowned sound and erased footprints. In cell E14, Hensley locked and shop-hacked the last of their supplies, rope gloves and a small crowbar. Carter was on duty that night, stationed conveniently at the corridor checkpoint. At 2:57 a.m., Hensley whispered, "Now." They lifted the bunk, pried open the loose tile, and slid into the earth. The tunnel smelled of wet soil and rust. The air was tight. Each breath echoed like a gunshot. 15 minutes later, they reached the end, a circular patch of soil under a drainage grate near the outer fence. They pushed. It gave way. The night swallowed them. For the first time in years, they felt rain, cold, heavy, alive. They crawled beneath the fence and sprinted into the woods beyond the perimeter. Within minutes, they were gone. No alarms, no shouts, just empty cells and silence. By dawn, the only evidence left behind was a pile of dirt under a bunk bed. But the victory didn't last long. The manhunt. When the head count came at 6 a.m., panic ripped through Blackridge. 3 prisoners missing. No broken locks, no alarms triggered, no sign of a breach. Within hours, the press had the story. Headlines screamed, "Tunnel 2 freedom." Prisoners vanished into thin air. 100 officers joined the search. Roads were blocked, air units deployed. But the trio was already miles away. Using back roads and abandoned train lines, they moved north toward Scotland, hiding in barns and junkyards. For 5 days they were ghosts. Then one mistake gave them away. A farmer outside Dumfries found a half-buried duffel bag. Inside, wet clothes, a prison ID, and a hand-drawn map. By nightfall, police closed in on a small cabin near the border. Inside were Darren Locke and Tariq Shah, exhausted, starving, and armed with nothing but a kitchen knife. They surrendered without a fight. But Hensley, the man they called the Mole, had vanished. The man who disappeared. For weeks, the country searched. Posters went up. Sightings came in from Scotland, Ireland, even France. None confirmed. Interpol joined in. The media turned him into a folk hero, the man who outsmarted the British prison system. But there was something no one knew. Hensley hadn't gone far. 6 weeks after the escape, a local fisherman reported a smell coming from the riverbank 2 miles from the prison. Police arrived, and what they found ended the myth. A body, half buried in mud, face down, wearing prison-issued boots. Dental records confirmed it. Marcus Hensley was dead. But the autopsy revealed something that changed everything. He didn't drown. He'd been hit in the back of the head with a blunt object. Someone killed him after he escaped. But who? The guards blamed his cellmates. The cellmates blamed each other. But the truth pointed somewhere else. The cover-up? During the investigation, one name kept surfacing: Officer Neil Carter. He disappeared 2 days after the escape, quit his job, no forwarding address. A month later, he was found living under a false identity in Spain, with 15,000 cash and a fake passport. When questioned, Carter broke. He admitted everything: the smuggling, the blueprints, the hush money. But he denied one thing: killing Hensley. He was already gone when I got there, he told detectives. When investigators checked his story, it matched mostly, except for one thing. Carter's fingerprints were found on a wrench buried near Hensley's body. But that wasn't the end. Carter died before trial in his cell. Officially, suicide. Unofficially, the wounds didn't match. The prison wanted the story buried. The ministry called it an isolated incident. But off the record, detectives believed something darker: that Carter wasn't working alone, that someone higher up had known, someone who didn't just allow the tunnel, but ordered it. The secret beneath Blackridge. Weeks after the tunnel was sealed and the media frenzy faded, Detective Inspector Alan Fraser refused to close the file. Something about it didn't add up. Why would a guard risk everything for a few £1,000s? Why was the tunnel dug in that specific direction, not toward the outer road, but beneath the old industrial wing? So Fraser ordered a second excavation, this time not to find escapees, but to follow the tunnel's true path. The team dug deeper beneath the sealed floor of E-wing. What they found wasn't another tunnel. It was a chamber, a hidden room, barely 6 feet high, reinforced with old timber. Inside were two things that shouldn't have been there: a rusted locker full of inmate files and a set of electrical cables running toward the east wall. The cables weren't part of the prison's current wiring. They dated back to the 1970s, when that section of Blackridge was officially abandoned. But abandoned for what? The Forbidden Wing. Blackridge's East Wing had a reputation, even among guards. Built during the Cold War, it once held political prisoners, foreign spies, and anyone the government wanted to disappear quietly. It was shut down in 1981 after an internal fire. The official record said it was condemned, unsafe. But Fraser's team discovered something strange: maintenance logs showing power usage from that very wing just months before the escape. That meant someone had reactivated it. The cables in the tunnel led directly there. When they pried open a sealed hatch behind the wall, the air that rushed out smelled like rust and rot. And what lay beyond would rewrite everything. Behind the hatch was a narrow hallway, untouched for decades, dust thick enough to swallow footprints. Old signage read, "Experimental containment, authorized staff only." Inside, metal doors lined the corridor. Most were empty, except for one, a single locked cell. Inside that cell was a table, a rusted typewriter, and a file marked Operation Meridian. Operation Meridian. The file's contents were explosive. It described a government experiment, a secret program to monitor prisoners believed to be high-risk political agitators. Blackridge wasn't just a prison. It was a test site. Inmates were isolated, monitored, and fed misinformation to study behavioral collapse. Some were never officially registered as prisoners at all. The program supposedly ended in 1981, but the documents in the tunnel chamber had entries from 1994, the same year Hensley began digging, meaning someone had reactivated the operation under new names and used the E-wing inmates to cover it up. Hensley's tunnel wasn't just an escape route. It was a path that led straight into the forgotten heart of the prison, the place where the experiments had once taken place. The question wasn't how they escaped, but what they uncovered while trying to. A guard in debt, a tunnel under surveillance, a prisoner who died right after discovering the secret. It wasn't coincidence. It was cleanup. The silence deal. When Fraser tried to bring the evidence forward, the ministry intervened. The files were seized, marked classified, and he was ordered to redirect his efforts. But word leaked. Journalists got fragments, mentions of Operation Meridian, of secret cells under Blackridge. Days later, the story vanished from headlines. The reporter who broke it, Amelia Rook, died in what police called a traffic accident. To this day, Her final notebook, containing the names of officials involved, has never been found. Fraser retired the following year. He was last seen leaving his home in Manchester in 2003. His car was found near the M6, engine running, driver's door open. He was never seen again. The case was closed. Officially, it ended with the capture of the escapees and the death of Marcus Hensley. But unofficially, it never ended at all. The return to Blackridge. 25 years later, in 2020, Blackridge Prison was decommissioned. When demolition crews arrived, they found the old E-wing flooded. The tunnel collapsed, the chamber sealed by earth and concrete. But under the debris, workers found something chilling, a human skeleton, buried near where the chamber once stood. DNA confirmed it wasn't Hensley, nor his cellmates, nor Carter. It was someone else entirely. A man who, according to prison records, had never existed. The discovery reignited old theories, that the tunnel was never meant for escape at all. Some believed Hensley stumbled into a cover-up. Others said he was silenced after seeing something in the forbidden wing. But one retired guard, who spoke anonymously, left behind a letter before he died in 2021. In it, he wrote, "We were told to bury more than just a pass." The final revelation. In 2021, when demolition teams began clearing what was left of E-wing, a contractor stumbled upon a corroded metal box wedged deep inside the eastern wall. Inside the box was a cassette tape, old, water-damaged, but still playable. It was labeled simply, Day 243, Night Shift. Authorities claimed it contained nothing but static, but a leaked copy, shared anonymously to an online forum months later, told a different story. The recording starts with the sound of shovels scraping dirt. You can hear three men laughing, whispering. Hensley's voice, "Almost there, just a few more inches and we're through." Another voice, Darren Locke, "Listen, that sound, it's hollow. Something's behind it." Then, the noise of breaking wood, a sudden rush of air, silence. Moments later, you hear Hensley again, but this time, his tone changes. "What the hell is this place?" The tape goes quiet for 20 seconds, then you hear it. Faint metallic footsteps, echoing, but none of the men are moving. A final whisper, "We shouldn't be here," before the tape cuts out. Experts examine the background frequencies. The hum wasn't from the tunnel. It matched the electrical signature of an old generator system, meaning the abandoned wing still had power that night. And if there was power, there were lights. Cameras. Someone was watching. The watchers, a declassified memo later confirmed it. A small unit inside the Ministry of Justice had been running covert surveillance tests in several old prisons throughout the 90s. They called it Project Watchtower. It was designed to test experimental motion tracking systems for early warning security. But according to one redacted report, Blackridge's test wasn't about technology. It was about people. Inmates from E-wing were placed under psychological stress and monitored to see how far they go to seek escape. Hensley's tunnel might have started as a real plan, but by the end, it had become a controlled experiment. The files suggested the program was never supposed to go public. When Hensley actually broke through the chamber wall, when the experiment became reality, the operation collapsed. The deaths, the cover-ups, even Carter's sudden disappearance, all signs of a cleanup operation gone wrong. Someone underestimated how far a miner would dig for freedom, and what he'd uncover beneath the lies. The last testimony. In 2023, a retired maintenance engineer named Colin Reeves came forward with a sworn statement. He'd worked at Blackridge during the late 80s, repairing water lines in the East Sector. He claimed that beneath the old floor lay an entire network of sealed tunnels, not one, but 4, connecting to a decommissioned military facility nearby. His words were simple but chilling. Blackridge was never built just for prisoners. It was built over something else. The government denied it, of course, but aerial scans later revealed anomalies beneath the site, voids, metal structures, and evidence of heat signatures long after the prison shut down. Whatever was buried there was still active. The legacy of the mole Today, the site where HMP Blackridge once stood is nothing but overgrown grass and concrete rubble. But locals say strange things happen there. Lights under the soil at night, the faint sound of digging when the wind is right. Every year, on the anniversary of the escape, someone leaves a single candle near the old perimeter fence. No name, no message, just light flickering in the dark. Some believe it's from Marcus Hensley, the man who dug his way into a nightmare he never meant to find. Others say it's for those who never escaped at all. The official files remain sealed until 2050. By then, most of those involved will be gone. But one truth still echoes beneath the earth. The tunnel was real, and so was what lay at the end of it. The ghosts of Blackridge. We like to think prisons keep people in walls, fences, guards, and watchtowers keeping danger locked away from the world. But sometimes those walls are built to keep something else from getting out. Maybe the real story of Blackridge isn't about an escape at all. Maybe it's about what happens when a system hides its own crimes beneath the ground, and one man was shoveled digs too deep. This was The Secret Tunnel Out of a British Prison: Escape, Capture, and Aftermath. If you believe every wall has a story, this one was screaming to be heard.